Hello, ActiveSage here on the Sage channel, and update came out today on Thursday as per usual, and this one is actually a bit befuddling to me. Now, there have been a fair few people who have asked, hey, good old developers, can we ever see more rounded blocks? A few people. And in fact, I remember there used to be quite a few in the older days, if I remember correctly, which is a chance I'm not. But the devs finally got around to adding in some rounded blocks. We've seen little sneak peeks at them from time to time in the ages long past. And you can see right here in front of you, I have all the different types that there are. We have light armor ones, which is these set of 4 right here. And then we have heavy armor ones, these set of 4 right here. Now you might be saying, wait, these look like sort of a higher poly and a lower poly version of the same one. This is a rounded corner, and this is a slightly more jaggedy rounded corner. Well, there's a bit more to it than that. So pop up my UI, we're going to go over to the armor blocks here on the left, and we're going to grab ourselves one of these and one of these. So my number 1 key is this one right here in front of us, and my number 2 key is this one right here. And we're going to go over this big platform over here. So this number 1 one, it works about as you would expect. You can place it down and you can start making some interesting shapes. I'd sort of want a, similar to the button I usually put on my number 5, this sort of block like this. I'd want one of those right there, but oh, I don't know, there isn't one. So let's just go ahead and make a little pill shape here, shall we? And to close it off, we'll go ahead and grab this one right here, and we'll also put this one on our hotbar, just so, this one right here on our hotbar, so we also have it. So what I've done is put this one as number 3, and this one is number 4, just so you guys can keep track of the different types. And so we're going to go ahead and using the number 3 one, which is the same version as these, the lower poly looking ones, we can finish this off, and okay, there's our shape. It's pretty straightforward. Yeah, it looks pretty straightforward, doesn't it? Well, what about the other ones? What's the point of these? Are these just going to look better? Well, we'll put down these center ones first, and actually, no, it's still a low poly one. There we go. We'll put down these center ones first, and right away, you'll notice the sharp edges here. The texture has a big cut in it, a seam. Pretty nasty stuff, but that'll probably get fixed. And then, of course, the lighting also seems to be shifting very suddenly at this point. It could be something to do with their normals haven't been smoothed on the edge, but okay, whatever, that's a minor issue. Let's go ahead and put down this block right here. I suspect you've seen what's happened. It's rather terrifying, frankly. We'll put down this one here. You'd expect it to be sort of just a nice bobble or something. A nice sharp edge along the base, and then it bumps up, but no, it apparently tries to smooth itself out and ends up almost looking like a big lump of moldy bread that has melted upon my landing area here. Very strange, and of course you see a lot of issues with tessellation. You can actually see all the polys bumping out, like right here. Looks like somebody just grabbed the center poly and pulled it forward towards the camera. It's very strange. I'm struggling to actually see what they were thinking. I'm figuring they were thinking this would sort of allow you to make more naturally built stuff that might meld together more. That must have been what they were thinking, but I personally am not very keen on it. Maybe if we do this, Sci-fi, you know, it melts this corner down, and then I would have almost expected it to melt these together now, but it has done no such thing. Maybe if we were to go ahead and take it and build upwards like these, because these don't naturally melt things unless they're at the corners. No. Well, you can see that one that I put upside down has completely melted that, so this one that was like this, you'd expect to have a little gap here. If I put that in, you see it moves the metal all weird, and if I delete it, the metal is still torqued, so we can go to weapons and tools, character tools, there we go. And we'll get these, and if you want, you can fix these. It doesn't actually require any more steel. It just takes time to weld them back up. Can't weld these up, though, because they're still connected. If we were to go ahead and delete that block again, then we could. Very strange thing, this update. I'm not keen on it whatsoever. Maybe if we delete that and then put this one in here, of course, then it warps this one. We delete that and put that one in, it unwarps that first one. Of course, it's still carrying on with these square things to its side, so it's warping all of those. And then we'll put this one back in upside down like that. Unfortunately, the little tiny interesting little gap I expected to get for something like that, as you see right here, it just melts together. So the only way you could get that would be to do something with the sharper, lower poly one, which, if these are supposed to be the same, but with different function, where one naturally smooths corners and one just stays sharper, such as this, I don't understand why one would be naturally lower poly. I would expect this one to be higher poly to start out with or at least on par with that poly. That way you could have the nice curved shapes. This one actually looks alright. I can see this being in the game. Is it? Both of them are in the game now, but I definitely could see the devs adding this and people using them. But these ones here, there's just something strange. Well, not these two right here, but these ones here is just very, very odd. Very, very odd how this all warps and stuff. And even these ones will sometimes warp, I found, if you put them next to these ones that do warp. So if we delete this one, put it back in, didn't warp at that time, but you can see there is a tiny bit of warping already going on where it was being pulled and tweaked, and very odd. I don't fully understand it. To further demonstrate the strangeness of it, I've gone ahead and made 3 little buildings. This is basically the basic building we would have built in the past using just all the straight edges and stuff. Not the nicest looking thing. To really make this look nicer, I think I would have personally just left the sharp edges. That way it almost looks like a hanger or something, such as this, instead of bothering to even smooth those edges at all. I don't know, maybe I would have tweaked it a bit more, who knows. But then we have this one here, which sort of makes sense. It looks sort of like a biosphere habitat of some sort. We could maybe put these along the sides here, maybe even going so far as to continue building onto it like this. And you can see a little bit of warping here, which almost makes sense when it comes to having one of these meet this, because of course otherwise it would, if we could delete it, we could show you that it would, we'll have to delete this too to reset its shape. If we were to go ahead and put one in here, you can see it would be sticking out a little bit. So you can see why it would want to warp stuff. So you put it in and it warps it a bit to make the edge go away. That's reasonable. But of course, if you were to go ahead and put in one of these larger ones, the warping is slightly more... Oh wait, it didn't even warp it on this one. Well, actually no, it did. It warped all these, but they didn't join up. Let's see if that is actually the case. If it did warp these originally. Here we go. This one here, place you there. Yeah, it's warping those down. So for some reason that's warping down. This one down here didn't warp at all this time, so it's fairly odd. Maybe if these were actually just these, it would warp them out to match it. You see, it does some of this natural like warping that tries to smooth out the edges, but something about that, I don't know. It's not so bad when you're just using these lower poly ones. But something about you, whenever you stick in a higher poly one, when it warps stuff with those, it's usually pretty terrible. It's not warping these at all right now. Well, I say that. Yeah, it doesn't look like it's warping these at all, strangely enough. So it's odd. It's very odd. It looks like they want you to use these more rounded ones on flat surfaces to bulge them up. And if you already have a sharp edge like this going along and you want to add in something slightly more round, you would use these lower poly ones to sort of let them match, which isn't so bad. And of course, if you put the lower poly ones on a flat surface, they don't warp it to Kingdom Come, and they also manage to keep sharp edges like that, so if you wanted to have some more detail added there. But just using those big rounded blocks sort of creates this, again, it's just a loaf of bread, isn't it? I mean, if I was to go ahead and grab this, grab ourselves a brownish color here, so up to value, saturation, yeah, get a brown. Can we find a brown? There we go. Now it's just going to be a big loaf of bread. Yeah, there we go. Big loaf of bread that I've just taken a chunk out of. We can even go ahead and cut into it a little bit right here. There we go. The inside of bread, it's white bread, so we'll go with this. There we go. White bread. There we go. Nice loaf of white bread all of a sudden on your screen. Yeah, so I don't know. It doesn't look... I don't know why they added this. It's not my cup of tea. Let's put it that way. Somebody out there's probably like, damn it, Sage, frack you! I love this stuff. I get all these interesting ideas that I can now do thanks to this, and you're just bashing on it for no good reason? What's wrong with you? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sure there are people who are going to come up with really great ways to use this, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just not keen on it. I don't know. I usually don't just build round things anyway. Anyway, that's this update. The bulk of it was this. They've also added armor modding, so people will be able to mod in their own armors, and asteroid modding, as in you'll be able to make your own versions of asteroids and now upload them to the Steam Workshop. Not exactly sure how to do that. There's guides for both of them, though, in the description below. Anyway, guys, that's it for this update. It's a strange one. You know, I would expect, at least when placing it on flat surfaces, I would expect these not to be warping so much like that. I expect them to all work like that, but then you go ahead and place one of these down and you're like, I'm going to have a tower coming up, and all of a sudden your tower's... Yeah, I don't know, I just like having the choice. And also that lighting issue there where the normal, that edge is not smoothed. They need to smooth that so the lighting works. Anyway, guys, that's it for this update. I'm I'm not keen on it. Maybe you guys are. Maybe you'll come up with good ideas to use it. You can see how some of it could be pretty cool with stuff like this. It almost looks like a vent coming up. That's pretty cool. Like I said, I like these sharper edged ones more because you have more control usually. But these bigger, pure round ones, not too fan of the loaf of bread. Again, for what, the third or fourth time? Thanks a bunch for watching, guys, and I shall see you next time. Alright, and you can go ahead and press escape, options, video, and turn off damage effects right here, so if all those like particles and stuff from damage blocks are starting to get on your nerve or cause you to lose frame rate, you can now shut those off. That's it. Ta-ta! Oh, I'm fading out of existence.